Your Ford truck's transmission is dying right now, and the worst part is you are probably the one killing it without even knowing it. I have been rebuilding Ford transmissions for over 16 years. I have pulled apart more 10R80s, 6R80s, and 5R 1/1-tone torque shifts than I can count. And every single time when I ask the owner what happened, the answer is almost always the same. They say I don't know, it just started slipping one day. Or they say it was fine and then it wasn't. But it was never fine. The damage was happening slowly, silently, for thousands of miles before the transmission finally gave up. And by the time the owner noticed something was wrong, the repair bill was already in the thousands. Here is the truth that Ford dealerships and most mechanics will never tell you directly. The 5 most common transmission failures on Ford trucks are not manufacturing defects. They are maintenance mistakes. Mistakes that are completely avoidable once you know what they are. And that is exactly what we are covering today. I am going to walk you through all 5 of them. I will show you exactly what each mistake does to your transmission internally, how much it costs when it finally fails, and most importantly, what you can do right now to stop the damage before it becomes a $4,000 rebuild. I will tell you this upfront: mistake number 3 is the one I see destroying the most transmissions in trucks under 80,000 miles. And mistake number 1 is something that almost every single Ford owner does, usually without realizing it is even a problem at all. Stay with me through all 5 because these build on each other, and the action plan I give you at the end ties everything together into one clear picture. Let us get into it. Mistake number 5 sounds almost too simple to matter, but I have watched it cause more internal transmission damage than most people ever realize. It is using the wrong transmission fluid, or using the right fluid but the wrong specification. Ford's modern automatic transmissions are engineered around very specific fluid chemistry. The 10R80 10-speed in current F-150s requires Motorcraft Mercon ULV that is ultra-low viscosity fluid. The 6R80 6-speed requires Mercon LV. These two fluids are not interchangeable. They are not basically the same thing. They are chemically different products designed for different clutch pack materials, different valve body tolerances, and different operating pressure ranges inside the transmission. The friction modifiers in the incorrect fluid interact with your clutch pack material in a way the engineers never intended. The clutch packs either grab too aggressively or they slip too easily. Both scenarios generate heat. Both scenarios accelerate wear. By the time you notice harsh shifts or delayed engagement, the damage is already done and you cannot undo it. The mistake most often happens at quick lube shops. The technician grabs whatever automatic transmission fluid is on the shelf, checks that it says compatible with Ford, and fills your transmission. But the word compatible on a generic fluid label does not mean it meets Ford's engineering specification. It means the fluid will not immediately cause a catastrophic failure. That is a very different standard than what your transmission was actually designed around. I have pulled pans off F-150s that were serviced regularly every 30,000 miles, good maintenance history on paper, and the clutch material was significantly worn because every single service used a universal ATF instead of the correct Mercon spec fluid. The fluid looked fine, the maintenance records looked fine, but the transmission was running on borrowed time. The fix is completely straightforward. When you get a transmission service, either do it yourself with genuine Motorcraft fluid purchased from a Ford dealer or a verified auto parts store, or you hand the shop the correct fluid and watch them use it. Do not assume. Do not trust the words Ford compatible. Verify the exact specification on the bottle matches what your owner's manual specifies for your model year and your specific transmission. That one change alone can add years of life to your transmission. Mistake number 4 is one that many Ford owners do not even know they can make. It is ignoring transmission fluid temperature while towing or hauling. Most modern Ford trucks with the 10R80 or 6R80 will display transmission fluid temperature right on the instrument cluster if you know where to look. On the F-150, access it through the information display menu. On Super Duty trucks with the 6.7 power stroke, it is even more readily accessible. Ford engineers put that data there because transmission temperature is one of the most critical real-time indicators of drivetrain health. The optimal operating temperature is between 175 and 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The fluid turns dark, loses its lubricating properties, and begins depositing varnish inside the valve body. Those varnish deposits are permanent. You cannot flush them out once they form. They block tiny oil passages, cause shift solenoids to stick, and eventually create shift failures that no amount of fluid changes will fix. Most Ford owners who tow regularly never look at transmission temperature. They watch the engine coolant temperature and assume everything is fine. But the transmission has its own thermal load, completely independent of engine temperature. You can tow on a cool day with the engine at 210 degrees, while your transmission is at 255 degrees. If you see temperatures consistently above 220 degrees, that is a clear signal you need an auxiliary cooler installed before your next trip. The temperature gauge is free information your truck is already giving you. Use it. Ford's owner's manual lists transmission service at 150,000 miles under normal conditions. But normal conditions means flat roads, light loads, moderate temperatures. If you are towing a camper, hauling materials, or driving in stop and go summer heat, you are not under normal conditions. You are under severe duty conditions. And Ford's own severe duty maintenance schedule calls for transmission service every 30,000 miles. Every shift cycle generates friction material debris from the clutch packs. The fluid becomes contaminated with microscopic particles that act as abrasives against every surface they contact. I have pulled pans on trucks with 60,000 miles never serviced, and the fluid looked like used motor oil. Dark brown, almost black, with a burnt odor, and a layer of metallic sludge in the bottom of the pan. In those cases, the damage is already done. Fresh fluid helps, but it cannot restore clutch material that has been ground away by contaminated fluid for 60,000 miles. Service your transmission every 30,000 miles. Use the correct fluid every single time. And if your pan has a magnetic drain plug, check it at every service. Fine powdery metallic fuzz on the magnet is normal wear. If you are finding larger particles or chunks, your transmission is warning you something is accelerating. A transmission fluid service costs $150 to $250. A transmission rebuild costs $4,000 to $7,000. Preventive maintenance is always cheaper than reactive repairs. It is deeply embedded in how people think about towing capacity, and it is costing people transmissions every single weekend. The mistake is towing at or near your truck's rated maximum capacity without any additional transmission thermal support and doing it repeatedly. When Ford says your F-150 is rated to tow 13,000 pounds, that means the truck is structurally capable of moving that load without immediately braking. It does not mean doing so repeatedly for hours in summer heat on hilly roads is something the factory transmission was designed to sustain without help. The factory transmission cooler on a base F-150 is sized for the average customer who occasionally tows a small boat or utility trailer. When that cooler is asked to manage a 12,000-pound fifth wheel through the mountains in July, it simply cannot do the job. Fluid temperature climbs. The clutch packs run hot every time the transmission downshifts to maintain speed on a grade, and every towing trip above 60% of rated capacity without an auxiliary cooler is depositing thermal damage that compounds over time. The fix is an auxiliary transmission cooler from TrueCool, Hayden, or Durale in the $80 to $250 range, plumbed in series with the factory cooler. This drops transmission fluid temperatures by 30 to 50 degrees under heavy towing loads. That reduction extends fluid life and protects clutch packs. If you tow regularly without an auxiliary cooler, check your fluid right now. If it is dark brown instead of bright red or smells burnt, that is heat damage. Change the fluid immediately and install that cooler before your next trip. And that omission is quietly destroying your transmission from the very first mile. The mistake is never adjusting your Ford's factory transmission calibration. The factory shift programming was not written to make your transmission last. It was written to produce the best possible EPA fuel economy numbers. And now we are at mistake number one, the one that surprises people most when I explain it. The mistake is never adjusting your Ford's factory transmission calibration to match how you actually drive your truck. The factory shift programming in Ford's 10R8010 speed transmission was not written to make your transmission last as long as possible. It was written to produce the best possible fuel economy numbers on the EPA test cycle. Those are two fundamentally different objectives. The factory calibration shifts into the highest possible gear as early as possible to keep engine RPM low, because low RPM looks great on a fuel economy test. But in real-world driving under load, this means your transmission is constantly hunting between 8th, 9th, and 10th gear because the engine does not have enough torque at those low RPMs to maintain speed without downshifting. That constant gear hunting means constant clutch pack engagement cycles. Each cycle generates heat and wear. Do this for 50,000 miles and the cumulative effect on your clutch packs is significant. The factory calibration also uses the minimum possible clutch pack engagement pressure to complete each shift because lower pressure means less parasitic drag, which helps fuel economy numbers. But lower clutch pressure means the clutch packs do not lock up decisively. They slide into engagement instead of clamping firmly. That sliding is friction. That friction is heat. That heat is wear. Every single shift for every mile your truck has driven has been doing exactly this. A quality transmission tune from companies like 5-Star Tuning, MPT Performance, or a local calibrator with documented Ford-specific experience addresses all of this directly. The tune increases line pressure so clutch packs engage firmly. It adjusts shift points to keep the engine in a usable torque range, eliminating the constant gear hunting. It refines the torque converter lockup strategy to reduce unnecessary cycling. The result is a transmission that shifts with confidence, tows without hunting between gears on the highway, and runs cooler because the clutch packs are not slipping on every engagement. The cost is $300 to $600, and it installs through the OBD2 port in about 20 minutes. There is a warranty trade-off to consider. A tune is detectable by the dealership, and they may dispute coverage on a warranty transmission claim. That is something you need to weigh based on your situation. But I will tell you this: the factory calibration may preserve your warranty eligibility, and it is also the exact calibration that is causing the premature wear in the first place. If this video helped you understand your Ford transmission better, subscribe right now because we cover drivetrain maintenance and real-world upgrades this deep every single week. Drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 5 mistakes you have been making